Well, you just get out of it. Well, you got a DQ in the main event in Chicago on a 600 grand. That stinks to high heaven. You know, and the fact that we're able to get away with it, I could tell right then we're in trouble.
We're really not a top guy where we really would get the opinion on somebody. You know, and even though you were in office, you were tight. You were one of the inside guys. Could you feel we had Lex on? Could you feel when the downfall of WCW started coming? Lex told it. We asked Lex this question. Lex said, "I can tell you exactly what I felt when I knew it." He said, "You know, every year there's a big show out in Las Vegas where TV stations present their lineup for the upcoming year." He said, "I went out there right after AOL bought our who was AOL or Tom? AOL bought them out." He said, "I went out there to the preview up and come." He said they flashed this big video montage of all the upcoming shows, and we were the top show on the air, and they were. And all of a sudden, I looked at that montage, and there was no WCW TV show advertised on there." He said, "That's kind of when I kind of saw the pictures that were falling down." Do you remember, you know, how that happened, the feeling? Did you guys realize what was going on?
Well, I could tell when it started to tip a little bit was when we were running live events and guys were no-showing. If you bought a ticket to see JBL, if he doesn't make it, I don't give a shit who you put in that substitution spot. Not going to be enough. And our top guys, we had a $600,000, I'll never forget it. I was the agent there, producer. We had a $600,000 house in Chicago at the United Center, sold out. And we actually had the top two matches. Those guys were quibbling and arguing about who was going to win the match. And I mean, it was like, well, I'm not doing it. Well, if he ain't doing it, I ain't doing it for him. And you got $600,000 house. And the fact that they were able to get away with that, because I've got to call the office. What do I do here?
And we made good money, and we loved going over there. But when WCW had the guaranteed contracts, they had so many guys no show. It literally killed the country because it was just wrestling to them. It wasn't WWE or WCW; it was just wrestling. So when we would advertise Stone Cold and The Rock, well, now we're starting to not sell out anymore because WCW has had a bunch of no shows.
Yeah, you can't. It's the worst mistake you can make in the wrestling business is to have no shows.
That is, as a former promoter, to me, that was always the deathbed of a town when guys would start no-showing. You knew something was going on. But you know, you guys had that 83 weeks, which was made famous by Eric Bischoff's podcast, you know, that you guys were kicking ass. And all of a sudden, that 83 weeks, what were you guys thinking, you know, at the end of that thing when, you know, the tables started turning? Was that the cause of it? Guys were just getting full of themselves and starting to no-show, or what contributed to that?
Well, there were some of us keeping our mouths shut and doing our job and working as hard as we always had because we knew we didn't have any say. You had some guys at the top that were quibbling over shit that didn't matter. You know, and I think it was just a me scenario. Let me just protect myself, you know, at this point in time. We lost our first quarter hour, just 1 quarter hour. I remember very, very clearly. And we get back to the office and we're meeting, and it was the first time we'd even lost a quarter hour on that 83 weeks. And the comment from the top was, guys, we can never lose another quarter hour. Now, we didn't lose the rating, the overall rating, we still won.
15-minute quarter hour.
But it was like, I thought about that for a second. We can never lose another quarter hour. So we get back to the office, and I'm helping Kevin Sullivan book, and Jimmy Hart's in there. And, all of a sudden, the edict came down. Since we can't lose a quarter hour, we went to booking dream matches in every segment. Dream matches. No story, no heat for 2 weeks. Pay it off the fourth week or anything like that. It was, we can never lose another quarter hour. That's panic talking. If we would have just cooled our jets, and before you know it, once you had given every dream match you could think of in 6 months, now what? You can't double back and make an angle out of it.
And I always thought one of the differences was your top guys were older, and like Hogan, it was not going to have a match that was going to be 20, 30 minutes. Our guys were like Stone Cold and Undertaker, who wanted to work 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So our guys would deliver on main events at pay-per-views, whereas it was harder for WCW because you had guys who were older and surviving on name recognition.
Very true. Very true. And that group of young guys you're talking about that came into their own, Hunter becoming Triple H, The Rock becoming The Rock, Austin, all those young guys, Undertaker, Kane, you name it. All of a sudden, these stars started to emerge, and by then the momentum had switched.
What a crazy time, though. We always wondered if the audience was split. You guys were doing like a 4.3, we're doing a 4.0 or whatever the ratings were. We always wondered if it was the same people watching both shows. But then when you guys were preempted with the NBA, we did an 8.1 one time. And so we realized that it was legitimately two audiences watching two different shows. I remember there in that time, Monday Night Football actually talked about moving Monday Night Football because we were so big in that Monday Night War with you guys.
You guys realize what a 8 rating is? Does everybody understand?
It'll never happen again.
Never.
You know who was ahead of that quarter hour, right? That did the 8.1. Don't look over there, man.
Unless
wait a minute. We got a little dispute here because what started that quarter hour was Bradshaw versus Ron Simmons. What ended that quarter hour was the Stooges versus Mean Street Posse.
The Stooges, brother.
So with the Rock, Stone Cold, all those guys. In fact, the ratings, because who were there, they want to put them up because they didn't want to put us over. So that was the first time they didn't put the ratings up on the wall. Was they didn't want to put us over.
And the fat guy, the brother of Tom Pritchard, came to me. He said, "You know what you guys did last night? No, you guys broke every record we ever had, man."
It was the highest rated quarter hour. It was 8.6 was what it was. 8.6, highest rated quarter hour.
Yeah.
The Stooges versus Mean Street Posse.
Two old men versus two guys that never been in the ring before.
And two guys who just sat there and talked about beer.
And said, damn.
Yeah. They literally gave so little shit about me or Ron that they said, we're going to put you and Ron out there against each other. I said, that's fine. We wrestled 100 times. It wasn't a big deal. And so I said, can we do a promo? They go, oh, sure. They didn't even care. That's the first time we brought up beer drinking and all this stuff that we had done. We had some fun with it. And ended up, that's what was the birth of the APA, was a lot of that was from that promo.
Which gave us some great quarter hours. You guys in the bar backstage?
Hell, Timmy White got a new bar every
Awesome.
6 months, man.
Timmy White went from nanotube televisions to a flat screen TV.
You guys have an open bar at Tim's place? Open tab?
No, Timmy still charged him for a drink.
His Vince would say, I cannot believe I just bought Tim White a new bar.
What did you guys think back in the day? Were you flipping channels between both shows? That has to be the answer, right?
It has to be, because that's where we found that out when you guys were preempted, that it literally doubled the audience. Because I always thought I was of the thought that it was the same people watching both shows. It turned out it wasn't.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm just going to say that's Super Bowl numbers.
That's right.
For our
Super Bowl
business,
numbers. Yeah.
It really is.
And in that day and age, it was Super Bowl number. But nowadays, you know, and it's not because these guys probably aren't drawing the numbers, but the way the ratings are calculated now, those numbers will never be duplicated. So
Never.
we'll hold those
You know, they have
numbers.
social media hits. They have a lot of different ways they measure ratings, and their ratings are just through the absolute roof right now. Congratulations to all of them, but TV's different the way it is now to them. Those ratings will never be equal.
So, the end is coming. Do you feel the end is coming when
Were you there when Mr. Brisco fired everybody?
Was that the last show in Panama City?
Panama City, yes.
I was there, and actually I was backstage, and everybody for WCW was like this, walking the halls, you know, walking on eggshells, and Gerald
Did you
was
guys know what was coming or what?
No, God,
Well,
it was a surprise. And you guys came in,
Me, Shane, and Bruce.
Shane.
Shane.
Yeah, that's Shane walked. You know, I saw the three of you guys walking towards me, and I went, "Oh shit!" I don't know if you remember this, and I just went up, shook your hand, and grabbed Shane's hand. He pulled me in and said, "I'll be seeing you a little later." That's all he said.
You're like, cool. We're good.
Let the steam off of that day for me. I could just do what I wanted. Relax. Yeah, but I knew what a pivotal night it was when it all played out, and I got back to my hotel room, and I looked at the trainer, and I looked at Charles Robinson, the referee, and I swear, you guys know what this means, don't you? It'll never be what it was. Business has changed forever.